Hey, Ken.
Hey, Ken.
So, here I am experimenting video and trying this out and to give you your feedback notes. And all right, I'm going to just go for it as is, and we'll just note that the timestamp starts like 3 minutes in. Um, all right, learning new technology is hilarious. So, yeah, well, you're gonna start this video at about 3 to 4 minutes in, and you're just gonna scroll to 3 to 4 minutes in. Either way, I will let you know, and then your video would start from there. A way to log this information, and so many things are happening, and I'm just gonna stick with the commitment to get the information out there and the perspective out there, and just trust the white background and the transparent sort of share curtain revealing things slowly, light visual aspect, not much visual, more audio, listening to the sound of my voice, just listening to the information. So I'm going to take that as the sign, reminding you to pause, take a beat, take a breath, get a journal to write down anything that comes from this feedback video, and to create whatever we can possibly think of would be fun homework for yourself. And because of the weight of this specific feedback, fun might just be to admit that nothing is fun right now. That might be the fun inventory. But if there is fun, obviously, let's be honest about that. Let's not feign happiness where there still might be amid all of the things that have happened. And let's not feign happiness. Let's not feign grief. If there is something to be happy about, let's not feign grief. And if there is something to be sad about, let's not feign happiness, but let's do the proper inventory as the share curtain gets pulled away and gets revealed. Things get revealed. Okay, so we're going in. Um, so you started off, you were just telling me about the major updates with the family move and the release of the old family house, the foundational home space, and just taking note of all the effects that that had on you, because it was happening while you're under pressure, going through so many different things, and it was in a space of crisis and functionality and utility, and all these things just had to be done. But allow your body, your mind, your whole being to come to terms, as we spoke about briefly in session, terms as in the poignant points and parameters of the space, the things that are needed to be noted, but also terms as in timing, like the amount of time and the toll that the time took from you with this releasing of the family home being sold, coming to full term, as in like a self-delivery, like a baby being mother baby being brought to term and to delivery. And so the family has gone through a self-delivery as a unit. The unit has gone through a self-delivery of totally letting go of a stage of life. And there's a lot to grieve just in the superficiality, as in surface nature of that. So let's go deeper into that and give me some feedback on how that really feels. Yeah. Okay. So that's number one. So definitely take it easy, pause the video, don't even listen to number two until you've written down things for number one. Or if you want to listen to all of it, then go back, but allow yourself to not become saturated with all of what I'm saying. So if you need to pause as we go and then return, allow yourself that. Just check in with your body each step of the way and find out what you really need, and allow yourself to let your heart break fully on each one and grieve each little piece, but also find sweet peace and honesty and release and resolve and relief in the extent to which you feel like, man, it was about time, like also allowing yourself not to feel any guilt, any bad feelings, any hurt, fulfilling feelings or judgments about being happy that it's finally released. So it's there are paradoxes within the feelings of it and the sensations of it, within the growth sensations of it, and you want to allow each state of mind, each dimension of feeling and experience to have its free time for expression and space. You want to dance about it and celebrate and have a glass of wine or champagne because, yay, the house was sold. And that stage is over in a sense, but then also, oh my God, the house was sold and we'll never be in that space again. And that is sad, and you want to give yourself space and time. So that's number one. Number two, we're moving into, oh yes, the violation of the storage unit and how that had written on it. I know that you were going quickly because we only have an hour and you're trying to give me the full update. So I just wanted to make sure that you rushed through that story. When I say rushed, you told me the story. However, um, I want to make sure that you actually wrote on just how violating it felt to happen upon the storage unit being open and how the family was moving in that space. Even if you gave the code, just not knowing exactly what was being done and being out of the loop with the decisions that had been being made, allow your body to express to you everything that it's felt, because our bodies endure so much stress and strain and pain for the things that we are navigating, and they're just, our bodies are just showing up to so much and getting the emotional impact of active aggression and what people call microaggression or passive aggression. There's all of this impact that's happening on our nerve system. So I want I want you to sit with the violation of the storage unit space, and just spaces, storage as in holding emotional space, and what they call in some schools of thought of spirituality, there's this notion of bone collecting, which means a bone collector is someone who holds on to our memories along the way, and like it would be like an aunt who holds the ticket stub to the first time you ever saw a movie. And that's what storage units do, right? We go back through storage units and we look at the museum of our lives. So when someone is in your space or navigating your space or not giving space to each family member to grieve what has been collected over time and part with it well, that can be very hurtful. So allow yourself to do that. Also, where there was no space for your mom's stuff, it's like, okay, this is our mother, like you said, and she has held space for us in so many ways. So how come as a unit we can't hold space for her? There is that feeling. But then there's also the validating feeling of the times where she has not held space, and and um, and your other family members deciding to act out at that space and time, and it may to you feel out of context. However, there is an extent to which everyone feels justified and validated, and every route of response is valid, as in true and real and having an impact. So it must be addressed. So going deeper into ourselves and finding, when I gave you the question of how did this happen to us, it's not rhetorical. So what are the things that there's no place for mom's stuff in that move situation happen. The feedback number three, maybe it was about 3-4 months ago or more, we had a session where you were helping um, a family member, I think his cousin and his children, move house. And I remember, of course, how constantly tired you are because of your work and how you had to stop your trips and in between trips go and do this moving and helping them set up their home space. And I saw that in a fun way as a something to acknowledge, that there's some connection to you constantly being someone that people can rely on to take care of and to create comfort and home spaces. So I saw there's a pattern of that happening in your life, with your dad giving you the responsibility and the battle in that way, with your cousin depending on you in that way, now with your mom depending on you in that way. And so are you resting enough for that? Obviously, we know in real time the answer is no. So more importantly, what does the body need for that? Okay, so there's that. And then moving on to number 4, where I spoke about facing the anguish of the fact that your mom was abandoned at the house and how that felt for you. And of course, wanting to protect her and letting your heart break for her, and letting your heart break for your family with how did we get here? That constant question, how did we get here? And I want to remind us, it's never a rhetorical question. So how do you think we got here? How do you feel we got here? How might have we gotten here? What are the subtle, active negligences, neglect, non-awareness, denial as in not admitting something, but also denial as in not being aware of something? What are the injustices within the unit that have been done self to self and by different members in the family to each other that had resulted in that culminating moment? Okay, we're moving on to the next one. So we have the SUV comment and all that comes with, the clout and the money and the access and the size and space and resource and being better than or being included, or all of the things that come with that happen in the family that bring us to a where is the inner child tantruming in all of you at that point in time when everybody is really triggered and facing the trauma of the move and the ripping away of what used to be a space of security. In one way, what used to be a safe space, but in another way, what we're facing was not quite safe in some ways, and we didn't get a chance to resolve that. So coming to terms with this is how far we get, and feeling through how you really feel about that, and how far is it that we've gotten? How far would you say the family made it to in that home environment? Okay, so that's one. And then the next one said, then the next one says throwing the cooler out, right? All of the things, all of the feelings that surface with throwing the cooler out, the lack of respect for the items specifically, not giving your mom a chance to look at it and grieve that the things were lost, just throwing the whole cooler and its contents out into the dumpster. Just a general disregard for the energetic value and sentimental value of how we feel and think and connect to all that it relates to in this transition that we're all working through, right? But specifically what your family and what you inside are going through with it. And the tremendous support that you have to be when we speak about the oranges in the basket and being depleted and energy being squandered and energy being swindled, for people being swindled and for out of their good energy, and not being upfront about what is actually needed and what is actually required, and not having clear, concise, open intimacy, integrity about plans that have been made about other people's things and other people's resources and shared resources. So the culmination point of the nonchalance of just throwing the cooler out, that aloofness, that what's the other word I'm looking for? It starts with F. It escapes me. However, yeah. So that kind of flippant, right? That kind of like disregard, What are the other spaces? Like the throwing the cooler out kind of just highlights that pattern, but what are the spaces where that same person who did that has done that in within the family interaction, and in the intimacy interaction of how they even came to be part of the family or connected to the family. So let your body feel through that and give me whatever is shareable in that way. Um, then I have, oh yes, now the issue of the check being, moving on to the next one, the issue of the check being short. And I wrote down, talk about oranges in a basket. It's like after all that has been done and after all that was agreed upon, again, with intimacy, integrity, seeing the true strength of the connection, intimacy being the connection, integrity being the strength, doing the full inventory, seeing what a culmination and a proof and a highlight of oranges in a basket, right? Being depleted, being taken from, being stolen from, that you would have agreed on a certain amount and then the check is short. What does that really mean to you? Again, if we don't if we don't declare the void of intimacy, integrity, and we act like, oh no, everything's fine, family's getting along great, I have great intimate relationships with the people in my life, then there's no need to fill that void or to amplify it because you're acting like everything's fine. If you are, I'm not saying that you are, I'm saying if somebody is. So we really want to take the inventory and we really want to let our internal Supreme Court pass a ruling internally on exactly how we felt about that check being short. It's not the principle of it where, you got the property here instead and you don't want to be petty and no self-bullying. How did you really feel about that? Because that affects you. It affects your mom to see her children be in that space, and it affects all of you and has an effect on all of you, whether it's verbalized or not. But in this safe space, and in the safe space that is you to you, whether or not you actually have a chance to share it with me, I'm directly asking the body for that inventory. How did you really feel about that? Okay. I am concerned, like I mentioned, moving on to the next one, I am concerned as in with respect to your space. I am interested. That's what I mean when I say concerned, not worried, but I am paying attention to your energy as it relates to your sisters now having access to just visit your home, because your home has now become the family home by virtue of your mom being there, and there needs to be some comfortable boundaries created. So that will be homework. That will be direct fun homework. Like, what would comfortable and comfortably happy boundaries look like for the new space that your home is? Because now you don't have 100% privacy after you come from your very taxing work, and that is something that we need to create space for. Even if it comes down to schedules, if there's a day a week that people know, maybe the first day you come in, that maybe your mom can go visit someone, or at least everybody knows, okay, that's her home, she doesn't have to be displaced, but everybody knows the first day that you come in, nobody comes to visit because you need as much silence as you can get. That's just a small example. Let's work to create comfortably happy boundaries over time. Okay, that's a small example. Okay, then we're moving on to the next one. Yeah, so more about comfortably happy boundaries, and then saying that your sister didn't come upstairs and asking you how did that affect you, right? Give yourself, don't just brush over it. I want to hear how you feel. I want you to, rather, I mean, I don't need all of this feedback in your next session. I want you to before the next session, I want you to take a moment to process these things and cry about them and grieve about them and rage about them internally, so you can see how you really feel, but also give validating peace about them, that aha, I knew the oranges in the basket thing was happening. I knew that I was being depleted. And here are so many tangible tangible examples that life is yielding and showing me yet again, yet again, yet again. Here is how I am being dishonored. And more importantly, here are the spaces for opportunity for me to create intimacy, integrity in all of my relationships, starting with myself and with my family and lovers and colleagues and friends, etc. Okay, moving on to the next one. Remember to pause in between. You don't have to listen to this all at once. Remember that. And I'm pushing it all out, but you take your time with it and you go through it, and you always have access to this. So you do that at your own time, at your own pace, as you come to terms with the effects that this is having on you. Okay, moving on to the next one. So, yeah, so then you ask, what did I do to create this, in the space where you and your sister were in an uncomfortable space and you're wondering, should I have gone to help? And I give you some feedback to that before we ended. Um, and I told you how I about it, obviously, and I need your body and you to come into full atonement and clarity and comfort about how you really felt about how everything went down with that one sister, and to give yourself that release of knowing that either way, whether you had gone to help or not, it would have still happened, if that is true. So if I'm wrong about that, I definitely want you to be able to tell me, no, that's not the case. I think if I had gone to help, none of this would have happened, if that is the case. And I want to be very clear, that's not sarcasm. I really want us to process that. Do you really feel that if you had gone to help, none of that would have happened? And give her her responsibility, because what you're doing there in essence is you're protecting an abuser. You're protecting the person who steals the oranges in your basket. Then, of course, because of the nature of the work that you do, you just, threw out about the miscarriage that happened while you were at work with the client and the customer. And that is the nature of the work that you do. That's just all in a day's work. And you have to come from that high pressure, literally, high pressure, low pressure system effects on your body, mind, and soul, on your sanity, on your emotional, on your heartstrings, right? You have to come out of that kind of intensity. Well, not here, right? Not in this safe space, not in the safe space that you are to yourself, which is why you come to these sessions, and not, of course, with you and me, which is where, of course, I'm thankful for the access to you and your safety. Then I wrote down sex life with mom there. And I really want to know, what is the plan of action for relationship, for union, for meeting someone, for dating? What does it look like to bring someone back to your place? Or are we now looking for you to only go to someone's space? Are we looking to straight to move in somewhere? Like, what's the current plan of action and recalibration for sensual connection and intimacy now that your lifestyle has changed? And I mean, to be explicit, you can't just have sex on the counter anymore. And that changes a lot. Whether or not you are never in that position, the fact that you can't matters for you to note that you should be respected and honored for the boundary that has been broken in opening yourself up the way that you have, under the pressure that you didn't have time to plan for this. This was your crisis response to your mom feeling abandoned, but we still have a lot of work to do to see if this is the best thing. And I'll go as far as saying, even if the plan that your sisters had could still be a plan, and I'm obviously not suggesting, but I'm saying it on purpose. Even if that plan was to be a plan that your mom would actually like, it would still respectfully have to be properly planned and discussed. So, and there are so many other alternatives. I know you mentioned the other sister that she had, as obviously that's not an option, but you just never know what your mom's life is ahead. And she should be fully considered as a full person who has a plan for her life. And obviously, I'm sure she doesn't want to be imposing on you either. That's never a comfortable feeling for either side, feeling like a burden. It's not ever a good feeling for children to feel like a burden to parents. It's never a good feeling for parents to feel like a burden. So we want to, when you have the time, we want to directly address that and um create that comfortable intimacy, integrity with your mom, to ask her, okay, we went through the hullabaloo and we're here now. And between the two of you, let's create a clear consensus of where we go from here and how she really wants her life to turn out from here on. And let's say you were to get married, what would you really want? Let's say you were to just have fun and have a partner, what would that really look like? Even if you wanted girlfriends to come visit, what would that really look like for you right now based on how dynamics have changed? Especially because you also spoke of um, a possible scenario of you having to take or to care for or give extra attention to the carer. So as we move through the Tetris of it all, and your shoulders have to get broader, what are the provisions that we in this sacred space need to make for you, right? So that's all part of your things that I want you to think about before next session. And if I know I'm dropping so much on you, but that's just to show you, I mean, that's all what you dropped on us in that way, like but I'm giving it that respect. It's not something that we just want to fly by. These are huge life-changing things, and I really want you to know how to physically in real time honor yourself and ensure that you are honored, respected, valued, appreciated, um, for all that output, especially when people who you are helping are stealing from you emotionally and financially. And I'll go as far as saying spiritually as well. Okay. Okay. Then you spoke about the next one. We spoke about the trip that's coming up, to the trip you have to make soon. Okay. So what is that trip going to look like for you now? And what kind of emotional provisions do you have to make to keep yourself well in your state of mind as you navigate whatever the property shifts will be? Like, if you do take your sister's names off of everything, like how does that actually work out for you, and how do you really feel about that? And again, same kind of thing, not feigning grief and not feigning happiness. How in a rocket launching way does that make it lighter for you if you were to do that? And what are ways that you can transfer that wealth? If it's not your sister's, then maybe it's your nephew. um, we also have to think of wills, because life is happening all the time and you never know where you will be and what will happen. So you want to make sure that as these changes are happening, that everything gets updated. And for the will to be updated, you have to tap into what is your real will. What is it that you really want? What is it you will for your family's providence and the lineage's providence? Like, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. I'm actually saying this and I'm getting like these sharp pains in my back, like in the stress way in the upper neck area. So it's heavy, and my heart feels heavy saying that one. Like, there's so many provisions to be made, and I feel that hear the sound of my voice changing. All right, I'm gonna breathe through that one. I feel that the Trinidad trip is going to be so powerful, so good, but unearthing, very, very moving. A lot is going to change from that Trinidad trip. So let's give that attention as far as we recalibrating and re-identifying and reaffirming what your will is right now, and what your will and testament is. Speak that judgment of, this is my judgment call based on my life experience, based on being the effective protector of the space, the one that has been given the baton, the one that has been held accountable and with the responsibility of protecting this space. This is what I will want. This is my testimony, my expression and articulation of what it is. And that have obviously will be in writing. But first, let's feel through it first and emote through it and decide together, right? Together, you and me. As of course, you are supported here, but together, self to self, you inside of you always. Okay. Where am I? Okay. All right. I think I will stop there because I think I gave a lot in the notes and in my ending of facing the guilt with the family and the painful reality and the feeling of loneliness and where we go from here and how the life has shifted and it's all what you foresaw but you didn't think it was going to come so quick, like all of that. We spoke a bit about that last time. um so I would just want to know more about what you thought from what I said then and anything that has surfaced from then till this moment before you clicked on this video, and where are you now having gone through it, and again, what is your projection for your family life moving forward? How do you feel you really want to interact with them as they have pushed you into this loneliness space? And the one that I wanted to reiterate, however, in that comment was things that we missed, things we didn't see. And you think of the song Amazing Grace, I'm blind, but now I see. You think of concealed and revealed grace. There are reasons why life doesn't allow us to see certain things up until a certain point, because there's our constantly developing capacity, and we might not have the heart and the mind and the state of awareness and presence and the sense of self to navigate certain kinds of anguish um, in one way. So things happen later, but then also we might not always realize how much we have grown and how you think it happened quickly. But in my mind, it's overdue. I think it's overdue from the part of me that's protective of you. And ultimately, I think obviously it's right on time because we have just done so much work for you to really digest the effects of the oranges in the basket and start building yourself and the intimacy, integrity, and comfortable criteria for relationships. And then this would happen as an auditioning for the position and the appointment in your life that your family wants to take. And so, how did they do in this audition? And what appointment would you give them? You know, where are they in your life? And it's not a matter of all or nothing, throw them away, they're no good. Obviously not. They are part of your life, they'll always be. However, based on your experience, based on your body, based on your capacity, based on your needs, based on your life today, based on COVID, and the changing world based on health and sanity and your needs to date. What do you need, and what do you want, and how do you will to interact with them and build from a space of awareness and surety that, oh, no, I was mistaken. I thought we were much closer than this. Okay, so this is where we are. I thought we were at least at a solid 6, but I'm realizing we're at we just made it to 2. So a lot of recalibrating for the intimacy, and we build from 2. We can get to 10 from 2, but we will definitely not get to 10 from an incorrect, inadequate, inaccurate valuation of a 6. If we're at a feeble, broken 6, we're not going to get to 10. But if we are at a solid 2, we're definitely going to get to 10 and build that intimacy. So let's do that accordingly and in accordance with the state of affairs in life, right? And lastly, we come to the guy. And well, not the guy, the person taking up in my mind the space of the guy, and you know, dangling carrot at friendship and lover, but not really, and advice giver and ask me how I really feel. Yeah, that's how I really feel. I feel I am I am I am. What am I? What will I say I am? I am not impressed at all. At all. I am not impressed at all with this person's constant posing as a friend and as a possible intimate partner with their life dynamics and as advice giver. Um, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. It's a lot of stringing along. It's a lot of taking up the space of your own self time and the time of someone who you can really build a real friendship with and real sensual intimacy with. And it kind of feels like they are the master of trapping people in a loop of, you see, I told you, you have got to allow for that part of your life. With you here, no. With you confessing love and then being a friend but not being able to be there, with me not even liking you, well, thankfully, because if you liked them, that would have been even worse and more intense on the body. However, that person is a colleague. That person is a work friend. That person is not a friend. And that person is not a prospect. Unless something has happened and maybe something has shifted in you. And there's always going to be provision for that. But then we're coming from a totally different vantage if that happens. And you never explained that. So if that is what has happened, let's talk about that. But if everything is as you have been saying and explaining, then I'm not explicitly saying cut this person out of your life. Either way, of course, I don't give advice like that in sessions, but I'm not saying that and I'm not suggesting that. But I am, however, making and affirming the judgment call as a protector, as your emotional intelligence lawyer. I am affirming the appointment and the role of that person in your life. This person is a work friend. This person is someone who you interact with at work. Work is a very different person who is a prospect. If you have 24 hours in your day to look for love and allow love in, what is your interaction with that person going to look like? And so I want a bit of like, honestly, where I am with this person is this. And more importantly, honestly, where I am with love and intimacy right now is here. And maybe you know the answer to that, maybe you don't know yet, but especially if you don't know yet, all the more reason to not take on these distractors and detractors. You want to give space for it, to give space to be in your unknown and in the darkness and to create, because that's where beautiful things are created. And I know you know that, especially you being such a creative and entrepreneurial person. So, okay, so that's the end of the feedback. And um, we will reconvene as soon as I settle, as I said. We'll reconvene as soon as I settle in my new space, as I have mentioned to you. So look forward to me reaching out to you. But in the meantime, as usual, definitely utilize the chat log. You can begin giving me feedback in the chat log. If you don't want to just write it, you can go point by point, pause, and give me audio feedback, which I will listen to before our next session. But if you prefer to only write in your journal and do that, and then you share with me, that's fine, whatever you want. But always feel free to utilize the chat. I will always respond to you as soon as I get it, and you will not be disturbing me by utilizing the chat. Remember that. Okay, so you can give me play by play of things that are happening that are wonderful and things that are happening that are uncomfortable. You can give me play by play all the time because my notifications are off and I go to check when I have the time. So I will, and I always make space for that for kin. Okay, so I allow all of you to utilize the chat logs as a running journal in that way, and you always have access to me in that way, and I will always interact with it as I feel able. All right, so as you move from this video and the processing of it into whatever else you have to do today, please take a beat, take a breath, take a transitional moment, and consciously enter the next space. And just look at how far we've come. We've come a very, very, very long way from our first session. And I'm very proud of you and of all the progress that we have made together. And I will see you soon. Okay, lots of love.